What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this video I am going to take on the biggest project I have ever done. So if you've seen the thumbnail, you probably have some idea as to what I'm about to take on. This is a 1996 KTM 525, and a quick little backstory on this bike. I was gifted this bike under the impression that it had been pulled apart to do a little bit of work on. I had no idea how crazy this project was going to be, but I've committed to it and I'm gonna get this thing done. And as an absolute bonus, I am not going to post this video until this bike is done. So this could be a long video, I don't know. I know that today this bike will not be running. This thing needs a whole lot of work. It's been about 10 years since this bike was pulled apart, and it's just been sitting in a friend's factory for a very, very long time. So my mission is to get this thing into what looks like a motorbike. Fingers crossed the engine works. I've got no idea. I'm assuming everything's there. I've been told everything's there. Clearly we need a few little parts, but before we get stuck into putting this thing together, I'm going to give you a really good close-up as to what I'm dealing with here. Let's go check it out. Well, as you can see, we've got a few boxes and a milk crate and some stuff that looks like a bike. I'm going to cover the VIN number here because there's unnecessary for you to see that. But as you can see, we have a 1996 KTM LC4, blah, blah, blah. So, this is the starting point, and it is completely stripped minus the stand, side pegs, and some bolts. Not ideal. Like I said, it does look like we've got everything. So we've got both wheels, tyres look okay, they're going to be fine. Brakes, handlebars, forks, everything looks like it's there. So that should be okay. Obviously we're going to replace things that are worn or been sitting. We'll put some new rotors and chains and sprockets and all those things because it'd be silly not to. Then we've got another box here with airbox, rear fender kind of thing, radiator, exhaust, which looks standard. We've got a box of plastics and fuel tank. We've got an absolutely destroyed seat, so that'll have to be retrimmed. Then we've got rear subframe. So that's the back end of the frame, let's say. Rear suspension, some electronics, which will be the fun part. Carburetor. There's a whole bunch of bolts and stuff. But then of course we have the engine. This is the part that probably scares me the most because it's been sitting for about 10 years and they're open. Now, I have a couple of ideas. I don't really know exactly what to do with this, but I think the right thing to do would be to try to start it. Let's see what happens. So clearly, I've got a pretty serious task ahead of me with this project. We are going to get stuck into it today, start putting it together, get it so that I can roll it around and move it because it's currently taking up a lot of floor space, which I don't have a lot of, as you can see. And eventually, I do plan on giving this bike away to one of you guys. And a quick little plug for myself here is we've just launched our members program, depending on when you're watching this. This video could take months, years, I don't know. But as of right now, we do have a membership program and any members will get extra entries into the giveaway. And of course, you can help support the channel by doing this. Small amount of money, help us out, do more cool stuff and contribute to these projects. But that's enough of that. Let's get our hands dirty and hopefully get this thing looking like a motorbike. Oh no. I think she's a bit rusty. That's less than ideal. Let's have a look at that before we do anything. So that wasn't part of the plan. It doesn't look too bad. I'm going to hit it with the flapper wheel on the ankle grinder, clean it up, pop some paint on it. Hopefully it hasn't gone all the way through, but it does feel pretty solid there still. I think it's just maybe a little bit of brake fluid's been sitting on there and it's done that. Obviously this isn't how I wanted to start the project, but if I can't fix this, then the entire project doesn't get done anyway. So start there, clean it up, pop some paint, go from there. Alright, so as you can see, it was definitely not as bad as it looked. It was just surface rust. Like I said, I dare say maybe some brake fluid dropped on there or something along those lines, and it's just lifted that paint. So it hasn't gone any further. I'm going to clean it up a little bit better off camera, get all these tiny little bits that I couldn't really get to properly, clean it up. I'm just going to slap some paint of whatever color I've got at the moment, because I want to get this thing together. I can always pull the engine or whatever's here in the way, paint that properly again. Actually, it makes sense that that's probably fuel that's been sitting there, as I think that's where the fuel tank would be sitting. Anyway, let's start getting this thing back together. Alright, let's pop some of this on. This is just a rubbing alcohol. Good clean up, just to help the paint stick a little bit better. And I actually have this zinc cold galvanizing paint, which not only is the color a lot closer, it's rust protectant. So that's good. Let's chuck that on. Okay, so as you can see, that actually turned out pretty good. Color's perfectly fine, so I'll pop another layer on there and it can probably stay like that. That's fine. While that's drying, I'm going to start piecing a few things together and get this a little bit more mechanic friendly, because there's just stuff in boxes and things everywhere, and I'll start pulling off parts that I know we're not going to use. And it's got Brembos on it, factory. Cool. So I'm going to pop that up in a bike stand for now, and I'll start piecing everything together. Fingers crossed, everything's here. Let's go. Yeah. So as you can see, the bike is in the stand. It can't stay in this stand while I'm assembling it, because that's made for bicycles and this weighs a little bit more than a bicycle. But it is going to help me clean this up and just check on bolts and make sure everything is kind of where it needs to be in the meantime. So, I'm actually really dreading this whole thing, but I've started now. I've got to keep going. Let's go! Now, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm really confused as to which way is the top and the bottom of this chassis, because the stand says it goes down here, but the head angle looks like it's way off and that foot peg's upside down, so I'm really lost. I think the smartest thing to do would be put subframe on, and then I know that that is the top of the bike. Anyway, let's keep putting it together and see where we end up at. Okay, I was right. Okay, I see what's going on here. The stand is down as we speak. Right, that makes way more sense. So yes, the frame is upside down. Let's turn it over. That looks better. Looks like a bike. And the oil filter's at the bottom where it's meant to be. I was getting confused. Put that there. That's starting to look like a bike. Cool. Alright. Now to find the bolts. Ha! Good luck. Okay. So as you can see, all the bolts have been labelled. Ha! Well, that just made my day a lot easier. Mad. And yes, I am fully aware that this is probably going to have to come off again to do suspension, carby, I don't know, one of those things. But I just need to start piecing things together to see if anything is missing. I don't know. We're going to find out. We're just going to go for it. You guys aren't going to have to watch all of this, so this is going to take hours and hours and hours, and you'll see it in a flash. Probably not. I reckon this will go for about an hour. Okay, subframe is bolted on and cracked. So that's fine, I can sort that. That's why we have a whiteboard. I'm going to write weld subframe, and that will be one of the jobs I need to do. This is all part of the progress of putting together a really old bike that I know nothing about. I have zero history. I've never seen this bike run, but we've already fixed one part. Then we'll fix that. There's a few things we're going to do. That's why I'm not too fussed about it. I just want to start slapping it together to define those sorts of problems. Let's keep going. I have spotted this though, which is a steering lock, which means the bike has a key for the ignition, which I'm really hoping is in here somewhere. If they've gone to the trouble of labeling bags, I'm going to assume that they have done the same with the key and the ignition barrel somewhere. I'm sure we'll find out shortly. I feel like this list is going to get real long, real quick. it's already getting way too heavy for this stand. Time to try to work on it on a regular stand, which will be interesting because as I add weight to the front, it's going to lean that way, back that way. We'll get there. It's okay. Oh my god, it's so heavy. Alright. Okay. That goes all the way up into there. So if you can't tell, I've never pulled one of these apart before. I think that's the fun part. Because if I can do it, anyone can. You know, maybe I can't do it though, that's the problem. We'll see. Okay, now this bolt does go through here and holds the swing arm as well, but the engine also sits in it as a part of this bolt chassis mounting. So that doesn't necessarily have to go in yet. I can mount the rear shock to that. That'll hold the back end together for now. Hopefully I can still get everything in and out. We'll see. And then I can get the front end on the bike and hopefully get a bit more balance here because this thing's about to fall over. Sweet. Found the key. Sweet. Now I'm assuming that this is probably going to go on and off quite a few times because no man. Ah!
Eight hours later.
So in an ideal world you would take all of the stuff off, including the wheel and cables and, you know, but this is not an ideal world and I'm just going to roll with it. So we already have some half decent progress. I'm not upset about this. Obviously I haven't torqued everything properly, as I'm fully aware that most things are going to have to come back out again because all of these need to be routed one way or another, and I don't want to worry too much about that yet, but it's starting to look like a bike. Pretty cool. And also, for the first time in 10 years, it's on its own wheels and stand. So at this point we could absolutely put the engine into the bike and mount the rear swing arm properly. However, if I do that, I'm probably going to get in my own way of cables. There is some electrical that runs to the rear, of course, for brake lights, etc. Not that we necessarily need it because I don't know if we'll ever register this. But I want to make it as complete as I can, and I've already worked out that the rear brake reservoir and slave cylinder sits on the opposite side of the brake, so it has to run across the back of the engine, I think. So I want to do that before the engine's in the way. I could put the handlebars on, but they'll just get in my way while I'm working on it. We don't need to do that yet. Let's get stuck into the really annoying part of this. Alright, okay, another one for the whiteboard. Guess we'll add that to the list. As I suspected, the rear subframe does need to come off. Well, at least just lift it up. Alright, so I've put a couple of hours into this, and so far we're looking pretty good. I'm actually very happy with the amount of progress we got done today, and it's definitely not as daunting as I expected. So, you guys will see me very soon. In fact, you'll see me right now. Alright, it's the next day working on the KTM. I've gone through and made a bit of a list of the things that I know we need already. And the good news is, obviously we need an oil filter and an air filter, but I don't think there's actually anything here stopping us from getting the bike running. Potentially the decomp lever. I don't know if it's got super high compression, we might need that, but there are ways around that. Everything else there looks like we could get this bike running with what's here. We should obviously put a new spark plug in it and stuff like that, but just so you kind of know what I'm thinking to do with this, get the bike running, work out what it is that we need to get it perfect, and then I'm actually going to strip it down, get the frame powder coated because I can. I've got some good connections for that stuff. Obviously get the seat trimmed. So stage one of this is just get the bike running so you can see it in this video, hopefully, fingers crossed. And then stage two of it will be refreshing the bike and kind of building it, because I don't want to do that if the motor's completely cooked. We'll go down other avenues because we've got other engines and we can do other things, but I don't want to powder coat it to have to cut it up anyway. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. This list is kind of irrelevant at the moment because we don't need anything other than the oil and air filter. I think I rambled on a bit there. Anyway, time to get stuck into this a little bit further. We should be able to get the engine in today. In my world, still the same day for you. Anyway, let's crack on with it and get this thing going. Alright, so as you can see, the bike I think is at the point where we need to stuff the engine into this thing. The plugs that are connecting are from now the engine to parts that I've just connected. So I think the easiest thing to do would be put the engine in. If I need to take it back out, it's not hard, it's only a few bolts. It's more heavy because it's a big old donkey of an engine from back in the day, and yeah, I'm going to try to get that in there on my own because that's how we roll. Let's get it in there. And I have just had a bit of a moment where I've learned from some other bikes, especially bikes with carburetors, that the carburetor is going to sit up here. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to get that in there once the engine's in the way. So I'm going to put the carburetor in first, and fingers crossed that's the right way to do it. I don't really know. We're about to find out, and hopefully it's the right way. Although I know all of this is coming back out at some stage anyway. I don't know why it matters. Let's go. Whew, big boy. Ow. Ooh, I'm not sure the carburetor first idea was the right one. Yeah. There's probably some secret to this. Yeah. I'm assuming there's a better way to do this, because this can't be it. I'm pretty sure taking the swing arm off and doing this would make it a lot easier, but I don't want to do that because then the bike's going to fall over. That thing's heavy. Okay. Something. Maybe. Probably not. Oh my god. It's so close. Oh. Oh. Yes. Engine's in the chassis. I'm sure there's an easier way. That can't be the only way. Don't do it that way. I'm gonna have a coffee and a drink. Be right back. Alright, as you guys can see, engine installed, mounted properly, absolute of a job. Don't recommend doing it solo. Like I said, there's definitely an easier way. Of course, we've got the carburetor on there. I'm fully aware that that 100% will need to be rebuilt, but I just want to get it to the point where I know the engine's healthy before I start rebuilding carburetors, because if the engine's completely wrecked, which is highly likely from sitting for so long, we might just put a different engine in this thing and have some fun with it. So I don't want to, you see where I'm going with this. Anyway, let's keep going, start connecting stuff. We're honestly not that far away from kicking this thing and seeing what happens. Let's keep going. Just quickly, as you can see there, I've done some digging as I found the old number plate, and I'm not going to show you what that plate is because you don't need to know. I'm not convinced it's a 525, so 400 GS. I don't actually know what all of that means. I've jumped on a couple of forums, and 400 potentially, it makes sense being called a 400 GS, but can't actually find it as a model. Anyway, I've been digging while my hands are dirty. So if you know exactly what this bike is, leave a comment below, because I'd like to know, seeing as though I own it. Anyway, let's keep going. Got a few annoying parts installed, so we're making some solid progress now, and I'm feeling quite confident about this. I think we'll be kicking this thing over fairly soon. However, I did just find that the kickstart itself feels horrible. I'm really scared of kicking this thing and breaking the thing off. We'll see. Anyway, that's enough of me jibber jabbering. Let's get back into it. Alright, we've got engine in, carby in, radiators on. I didn't film too much because it was getting pretty boring, I'm sure. All the little fiddly bits that you probably can't watch anyway because it's all tight, and I didn't even know where they go until I got there. But that'll do for today, and how good's my young fella's first little... Not bad. First of many, I'm sure. Anyway, guys, I'll be back into this as soon as I can, and I'll see you then. And we're back. It has been some time since I've worked on the KTM. A couple of reasons. Number one, your boy got married. That's right, it's all over. So that happened. One of the other reasons there's been some delays is we needed parts. Now, to order parts, we needed to know what bike this actually was. So we did some digging, and it turns out it is not a KTM 525. I'm sure there's plenty of people that have mentioned that in the comments by now. It's actually a KTM 620. I didn't even know that was a thing. Anyway, that's what it is. It's a 620. It's got this weird twin ported head thing, and that's what it is. So, now that we know what bike it is, we could order some parts. That means we can get rid of decomp lever. We've got one of those. Headlight globe. Oil filters, oil and air filter. We've got all that stuff. Spark plug. I mean, the bike might have ran. All I want to do is get the bike running. There's other things we need, but the bike will run without a handlebar mount that isn't broken. So the stuff there, we're looking pretty good. We should be able to get this thing together, and we should be able to kick this thing over very soon. Speaking of kicking it over, I don't know if anyone noticed this through the first half of this video. The kickstart is on the left hand side of the bike. What? I did not know that that was a thing. Apparently it is. There's a few bikes. I'd never heard of it. Anyway, so that means when we do kick this thing over, I'm going to be using my left foot and probably hurt myself. But that's enough of me. Let's get some parts on this thing and see if we can't start it. Alright, so we've got oil, filters and stuff in the bike. Now we can't start it yet, obviously. Exhaust isn't on it. I'm actually still missing a banjo bolt for one of the oil lines, so we need to get that. But I do want to kind of turn it over now, just to check for compression and check it's not seized. I have not turned this motor over and it hasn't happened in, I'm guessing, about 10 years, because it literally sat in pieces. What we're hoping for, if you're not aware, is a bit of air to be pushed out from where the exhaust comes out of the engine. Let's see what happens. This could be all for nothing. So let's see. Okay. Alright, so I'm pretty sure all of those sounds were good. You could hear the big intake, valve close, and then exhaust sound. So that was good. You could actually hear the valve close, like a definite close. Hopefully it wasn't something hitting the spark plug, because that'd be bad. If that's the case, that means we need to pull the engine apart, and I don't want to do that. We have other options if that's the case. But we won't know until we really start it, get some oil pressure up into this thing and just see what's going on. Obviously I need to oil the air filter before we can do anything. That's bone dry. Need to hook up the exhaust, get that little banjo bolt like I said, put the fuel tank on, kick it. Fingers crossed it runs. So I can't do that right now because it's very late at night, but let's keep going. And it is the next morning, and I had a bit of a scurge through all of the bolts that I've kept for 20 years, and I found something that is the correct banjo bolt that I need. It's a little bit crusty. It's fine. It's just going to be enough to start the bike today. Well, try to. So I'm going to fit this, fit the exhaust, put the fuel tank on. I think that's all we need to try to start it. So let's do that. It's enough of me talking. Let's go. Alright guys, it's time to put some fuel in it. I've got this. I know it's not the right one, but it's probably better than nothing. Fuel's probably going to leak out of this thing because the fuel lines are super crusty. That's obviously something I need to fix. But even with crusty fuel lines, if it's going to run, it should. But I doubt it will. It's been 10 years. No way this thing's going to start. Anyway, let's put fuel in, see what happens. Oh. So, bump the idle up a bit, choke on. There's no way this thing's going to start. Probably helps if you turn the key on. Oh, it's so weird. Left. I can't do it with my left. That's so strange.
8 hours later.
I'm going to drain a bit of junk out of the carburetor, see if anything comes through. At least we'll know there's fuel in the carburetor as well. Let's do that. Alright, I've just drained a bit of fuel through and now we do have fuel coming out. A little bit of a leak, so if it does start running it won't be for long. There's also no cooling fluids in it, so it's not going to start. Seriously, it'll blow my mind if it does. Alright, I'm going to pull the spark plug and just see if we've got spark. Could be an issue with the coil or electronics. Let's do that. Alright, if you don't know how to check for spark, pull the plug out, pop it into the lead, put it on something metal that isn't covered in fuel, and kick it over and watch for spark. Alright, as you can see there, no spark. So I'm assuming the coil has probably failed. There might be a connection somewhere that isn't quite right, but I had a good look and I can't find anything. So I'm gonna have to order a new coil for this thing. They're only cheap, that's fine. Plug that in and see if that fixes it. Alright guys, it is weeks after working out I needed an ignition coil for this bike. This is the coil off the bike. Now the issue is, I was supposed to get this bike running before posting this video, but without this I can't get it running, and unfortunately I can't find one anywhere. Apparently there's a replacement with one that looks nothing like it, so I don't understand how it's a replacement because it doesn't have the same amount of wires. I'm not smart enough to work that out. There is a guy that has one and he wants 600 bucks for it. The bike's not worth that, bro. So if anyone knows a realistic replacement, if it's a couple of $100, sure enough, I will. Maybe. That's getting ridiculous for this bike. So I am sorry the bike isn't running in this video. I broke my promise, but I can't get running without your help. So if anyone knows where I can get that, this is the part number, screenshot it, send it to every one of your friends. Help me out here. Let's get the bike running, because as soon as it's running, I can give it away to one of you guys. You could win this bike, but I can't give it away while it's not running. That's just weird. So, subscribe, comment, let me know, help, something. That's going to have to do it. I'm so sorry, guys. This build has been months in the working and it shouldn't have taken this long. Anyway, we'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks so much. Bye.